Well, hello, and welcome to Momentous Live, episode 124. I'm Tristan Jutra.
I'm Tasia Custodi.
I'm Will Silver.
And it seems that Gray Williams will not be joining us tonight. Hopefully, we will see him again very soon. In the meantime, you can learn more about us at momentous.tv, at momentous.tv/links, momentous.tv/team for information on all the team members, and hear the audio version of this at momentous.tv/podcast, where you can subscribe on your favorite podcast service. You ready to do this, folks? It's been a couple of weeks.
Ready.
It's
We should be raring to go.
raring to go. Took last
Get
week
that
off.
energy up, people.
Thanks to some some of us may have been on the road and maybe encountering some.
It's okay. People can
Inconsistent-
take a vacation, Tristan. Can
it's
can
just-
someone tell him it is okay to take a vacation? This man will
There's
not take a break.
non-reliable internet connection. and
He
it
was
just
forced. He was forced into a vacation.
killing me.
Fake fan.
It's killing me, I tell you. So we've got a little bit of follow-up, and then we'll get into some new stories. It's like we're in the heart of slow news August now, which is just fine, quite frankly. But let's start with just a teeny bit of follow-up. The social network formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, as you may know, as we've discussed in the past, has a bit more competition nowadays. And look who it is. It is none other than Gray Williams. I will unmute. Hi, Gray. Oh, we can't hear you, but he's working on it.
There's a mute on the microphone as well.
There we go. We'll just crank your level up a little bit. And glad you can join us.
Me too.
All right. So we were just about to do just a touch of a follow-up on one of the more recent competitors to Twitter/X, Threads, brought to you by Instagram and its parent company, Meta. And there, after a huge flurry of activity, people always checking out the new hotness. Things have kind of have died down a little bit on Threads. There's a lot of people have gone back to Twitter because that's still where all the crazy is. But one of the tweaks, long-awaited tweaks that have been made to Threads is the ability to set it so that you don't see just a bunch of suggested posts. They've added a tab where you can only see posts from people that you follow. So you just need to go into your Threads app, make sure it's updated, and there'll be a tab on the main feed where you can select something like following. You can toggle between the For You feed and a following feed. So if you don't want algorithmically selected stories and posts pushed into your face on Threads, especially if you're a Threads completist, just switch over to the tab that shows you people that you're following, and that will help you control your experience a little bit. Then again, despite people
I still haven't been on, Tristan.
Say again.
I still haven't been on
On Threads since we talked last.
Since
Well,
we talked
you're not-
last, you
you're
guys,
not-
I still haven't been on. I got a confession to make. It was hot and heavy for a good 48 hours, and then it was nothing.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So I've got a conspiracy theory about the new name of Twitter. Right?
I
Because
can't talk about this.
as people are quitting, Twitter used to be an X Twitter, but now you're an XX, which means that the XX could actually get you for copyright infringement, trademark infringement. It's a whole thing really to just silence former Twitter users.
Really? That's your theory?
That's our first of two conspiracy theories we'll be talking about this week.
Which is my favorite type of piracy, conspiracy.
Oh, there we go. Back with the puns. What would we do without you?
That's from The Secret of Monkey Island, a video game from the 1990s. Yeah.
We'll also be discussing other historical stuff this week too. So you're right on theme. So to Tasia's point, some people contend that even though many have gone back to the musky embrace of Twitter/X, that you may come back to Threads sooner than you link as they continue to add more features. We've got the following tab But one of the key things that's missing, especially for people managing Threads accounts from their desktops or laptops, a web version, a web interface for that. It again took Instagram forever to do that, so I'm not holding my breath. So, this article from Mashable contends that just be patient. Adam Mosseri, CEO of Instagram, is saying that, and Threads is saying we're working on it, and just they're going to keep iterating, and you'll be back to Threads eventually. Are you buying it, Tasia? What's it going to take to get you back on Tweds? Boy, oof.
A name
Threads
change to
regularly.
That's the $1 million question, because I'm still struggling with what makes it actually different for me now, and why spend my time there as opposed to, I'm still calling it Twitter, and y'all can never make me stop, as opposed to my time on Twitter, which is I'm still using it in the same curated way I was, regardless of the ridiculous branding error. But I just don't know what would get me. And don't get me wrong, I was on it, like I said, hot and heavy for 48 hours. I was like, sign me up. This is very exciting. I love testing new apps. And then it was just kind of like, okay. But at the time I said, now what? And now I say, okay, yeah, but still what? What are we doing? So I don't know, because until maybe people come out with stuff that's like Threads exclusive content, or things that are like a reason to bring an audience there as opposed to everywhere else we are all the time, I don't know. It is helpful to have it on like a desktop version, like a web app is helpful. But again, I'm not using it in the way that I use Twitter, at least right now. So guys, I don't know. It's still on the last page and I haven't opened it in weeks.
All right, rapid fire then. Will and then Gray. Will, what does Threads need to get you on there regularly and draw you away from other social platform time? Don't overthink it. Rapid fire.
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's not really my bag of tea. It's I think, as I said before, I'm more of the visual type of guy, and I don't really enjoy the microblogging.
Fair enough. Gray, what's it going to take to get you into these fancy new Threads, or bring you back?
Internet points. I think a tally of some sort of arbitrary score. Reddit does it. Imgur does it. I think that's the missing piece here, is just a number that means absolutely nothing to anyone except the person's own ego. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
All right. I, for one, have two things that would help me engage with Threads a bit more. One is integration into social media management apps such as Hootsuite, Sprout Social, and others. And the other thing, it's related to this, but maybe as a first step on the way there, is multiple account management. If you're using this for professional purposes, it's crazy making that you can only have one account set up in the app if you're using it on your mobile device. So as it stands now, I have like 3 or 4 different mobile devices logged into different Threads accounts, and that's not sustainable. I'm sorry. So yeah, I get it. They got it out of the door quickly to take advantage of Twitter in a moment of weakness, and they're iterating. It was an MVP, a minimum viable product, and they're just iterating as they go. But until they don't want to lose this window of opportunity, because people will move on and not come back. We've seen it with so many other social platforms. LO. So just don't take too long. Adam, sorry, that's all we say. Just don't take too long, because the professionals want to get their brand stuff out there. And of course, they got to do what they can to continue to court the celebrities, journalists, athletes, politicians, all those. But it's Twitter/X still has the mind share. I noticed I was on saw on TV on the news channel the other night. What day is it today? It's Tuesday, right? Monday night, yeah, after roller hockey, went to Wendy's, for some health food, and they had BC One. There are local news, 24-hour news channel run by Global News, and they were showing where you can find them on different social networks. They had the X logo, but it still said Twitter. So there you go, Tasia. Enough more proof of their like botched branding. Some places are still showing
it's
the
still
bird.
twitter.com.
Yeah.
And you ain't
Which
gonna
they-
get me to change it from Twitter until, oh God, no, I can't think of a time when that changes.
Yeah, it still bounces
no,
to
no,
Twitter. When you go to
no.
x.com, it bounces to Twitter. So until they flip that, it's like, boy, who knows?
still
Who knows?
hope.
All right, let's move on to a little bit of other follow-up. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the launches of the new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 and Z Fold 5, which have been getting generally positive reviews, a lot of nice improvements, such as to the outside screen. Instead of a little baby screen, it's a better full, like half size screen. And they looks good so far. If you want to spend $1,000 US for the flip, or $18.99 US for the fold. But one of the nice things we've learned from Samsung this week is that some of the new features in the software that help improve the experience, and it's known as One UI version 5.1.1, are going to be trickling down to the Z Flip 4 and Z Fold 4 models, and possibly eventually down to the 3, the 2, and the 2. No mention of the original Fold being included there. So that's kind of a nice thing. I mean, when you have these customizations to Android, this extra layer on there, that's always the risk when you've got these sort of oddball devices, is you want to see that software support. So when they're going back, 2 or 3 years to support older devices, I would say, good job, Samsung. That's all for anyone who cares about Samsung stuff. But in another little bit of related strange news, after only a week on the market, the Galaxy Z Flip 5, the nice little flip one, is already $100 off. Are we to take from that it's not selling so great and they're trying to encourage people to buy, get it down to $8.99 US? Gray, any thoughts on that?
5 $5 full.
It seems to be there was more buzz around the flip model because the 90s kids are kind of loving the idea of having a flip phone again.
Star Trek Strange New Worlds, flipping it open is the best part.
Exactly. So anyway, if you're at all interested in the flip version of this latest generation of flippable foldables from Samsung, $100 off US, or $150 Amazon gift card. There you go. That's our Samsung Galaxy follow-up news for this week.
Yeah.
Moving on to some new stuff. Well, we might as well stick with the gadget news. And I please indulge me, because this is a little bit of a dream come true.
This is the most
LG
headline I've ever read.
moving from one Korean company, Samsung, to another Korean company, LG. LG now sells this bizarre TV in a suitcase, and I must have it. The 27-inch Stand By Me Go apparently can last up to 3 hours on a charge, has 4 built-in speakers, and supports AirPlay, screen mirroring, and even voice controls.
So
I don't know. This is like something out of Get Smart.
What's happening?
So go with the phone shoe. And look, Gray, they've even got a mini there. Like, I think you need this for camping.
Yeah.
So
I'll be right there.
all right, 27-inch screen. I got to say, I love the idea. But for me, I'm thinking like as a second monitor. Like one of the things like traveling around with a laptop, especially a 13-inch like my M1 MacBook Air, it's just not a lot of real estate on there. And it's harder to get serious work done. And, you could bring extra monitors with you. There are USB monitors you can get. I've got the Zebec Tri-Flip or Tri-Fold or whatever it's called. And it's got small screens, and it doesn't feel all that great. I think it was my pick of the week, last year or something, but I've barely used it because it's just kind of a hassle to set up. But something that's got a built-in protective case right there, fantastic.
Can you use this as a second screen? Are they also building it like that, or is it just as like a portable TV is what it's being billed as? Because that to me is the big strength, the second screen.
Yeah. So as Gray says, you can AirPlay to it, which is cool. I've yet to find out details as regards inputs, but
because LG makes a great monitor, makes a great second screen.
Well, they've also got their screens on stands that are battery powered.
Yep.
We saw those a little while back, right?
But part of it is like packing something around and not having it get damaged. HDMI input. Boom. There we go.
You know what this needs? Yes. This needs just an add-on feature, an accessory that when you close it, a puff of smoke comes out, like a Mission Impossible thing. Right? So you can just be like really intense, then close it, puff of smoke, and just go. They always do that, right?
That's
Great
right.
party trick. Yeah.
Now,
a workaholic like Tristan who can't take a frickin' vacation. This is just perfect.
I think this would be great to help with live streams from remote locations in the future.
Yes.
Now, the one thing that makes me crazy about this, though, is it's only freaking 1080p. It's a 27-inch monitor. We're used to like 5K IMAX. I mean, I've got a couple of 27-inch 4K screens flanking my iMac, which are not quite as good, but decent. They're LG, but like to have the same size but only 1080p, like come on, you're killing me, LG. But of course, that's probably for cost reasons. Yeah, but it's 2023, Tasia.
Correct.
That's true.
Correct.
But there's a lot of people still in that 1080p mode. They're probably like, let's see if anybody buys this suitcase television.
Yeah. All right. Well, Christmas is only a few months away, gang.
Oh, guys, your lists are getting really expensive. That's enough now. I'm interrupting this podcast to tell you.
All I want is two
have a talk.
$1,300 turntables. Is that all that much to ask for?
I mean,
Hey, I saw a pair of SL 1200 Mark IIs on Facebook Marketplace for $1,200 total. I mean, that's kind of like been the same price for the last 20 years.
That's pretty good, actually. Sometimes you'll see more like 1,400 or to 2,000.
So one place you probably won't want to be packing your bags for right now is, say, Maui. But Tasia has a news story for us. In the devastation in the Maui wildfires right now, at last I checked, was 99 dead, 1,000 missing. Not looking great. But Tasia has found a little good news story in this. Tasia, why don't you walk us through it?
yes. Well, so as of like 10 minutes ago, that death toll has risen. It's going to keep going up, unfortunately. So the little bright spot in this and the little technology spot in this all, because I think we've all heard a lot about how some of the tech failed people. You know, there's different reports that the sirens did not go off. The fire had an effect on that, and people did not have time or notice to evacuate.
Cell networks down.
As we know, exactly, all the cell networks were down. People could not get a hold of anybody. And enter in the iPhone Emergency SOS via satellite. So we all talked about this when this first was introduced from Apple with iPhone 14, right? God, it's hard to remember which iterations of phone sometimes. And when Apple introduced it, and it's still true right now, is there's not a price on this yet. It was, if you bought the iPhone 14, you got this included for 2 years, I believe, and it works in a handful of countries, the US included. So since cell service was down, this story out of Maui, out of Lahaina, actually, where a lot of this devastation happened, a family was stuck in a van that was heating very quickly. There was no visibility. They couldn't see anything. And somebody in the van had an iPhone 14. And they were able to use the emergency SOS feature, which connects to a satellite. So you didn't need the cell service. And what's incredible with that, so kind of how it works is when you go into the feature, it's going to ask you a series of questions so that as it's connecting to that satellite and as it's getting somebody that's, you know, in like a call station, basically, it's not what it's called, but somewhere that can receive your message. It's just asking you a quick set of questions, you know, like your location, like health history, what's going on type situation. And like, then you can essentially it feels very much like you sending text messages to somebody that works at a center that can then contact emergency services. So this person in this van was able to do that and connect to satellite, even though, like, keep in mind, no visibility. Like, they were so socked in with smoke. I mean, you literally could not see in front of you. It was black. And in such a panic like that, where like you definitely think the worst, and they were able to communicate with emergency services and say, like, here's how many of us are in this van. Here's exactly where we're located. Here's our ages. Somebody has this health condition. The van is heating up really quickly. What do we do? We're going to try to drive. Okay, we can't drive. We're going to stay here. We're still at this location. And I mean, it's really there's some screenshots that I know you're showing right now, Tristan, and we can add some links and stuff. And it's really intense to like read through the screenshots of the SOS messages, because like these people are wondering, do we run into the ocean? Do we try to get, like, what do we try to do? And they can't go anywhere. And emergency services basically tell them, like, hang on, like they're coming. And the miracle of it all is they got people to rescue them within 30 minutes of that initial contact, and they are all okay, and they all survived. And it's like, to me, like, I know we've heard a lot of these stories of like emergency SOS or even silly things of it going off in certain areas or whatever, but it's like, come on. Can you imagine? Thank God one person in that van had an iPhone 14. Can you freaking believe this? Guys, you'd be effed with me. My iPhone 11 Pro. Like, my God. But like,
let's see if your Google Pixel bails you out, huh?
Right? But it's just like an amazing, like, a bright spot in the awfulness that is the panic and the horrid situation that is still happening in Maui. It's like, holy moly. I'm so glad these people are okay. I just thought that was a really cool tech story out of Maui. And I that's the one I heard of. So I don't know. I mean, it could have happened with other ones, but this one was, I think it kind of the one we heard of because somebody did end up posting screenshots to Twitter and it kind of went viral. But holy moly, you guys. I don't even know how calm I would stay to like be able to do that in the car, like purely panicking. I don't think I'd, oh man.
It'd be interesting to see if Apple is able to highlight a story like this in a tasteful way at the iPhone event, which is coming next month, because they have shown other cases in the past where people's iPhones or Apple Watches have helped them get rescued of detecting a fall or a crash or something like this. And this emergency SOS feature is the latest along the line of these personal safety features. Gray, with your penchant for camping, what do you remember that this feature exists? Is it in the top of your mind? How much comfort do you take in it?
Quite a bit. So I've got a spot broadcaster back there that is $30 a month, which I should actually just sell the hardware because I'm not using it anymore because the iPhone has replaced that. The spot's it's a nice little device, but the iPhone's doing exactly the same thing. So I'm kind of looking at it and going, no, I shouldn't say exactly the same thing. No, it is actually doing exactly the same thing. Just in that instead of a little BlackBerry-esque device hanging on my wall.
This is the big difference too, though, Gray, is like, you think of like a situation like that where, say, you're living somewhere where, maybe prone to hurricanes and tsunamis and events like this. You might be thinking, okay, I need to have a satellite phone in my house. I'm going to keep a satellite phone in my vehicle. If there's multiple people in the house, I want a satellite phone in their vehicle. But, now with the iPhone, it's exactly like what you're saying is, no, I mean, now we could all just be walking around with them all the time. That is like huge in these, like, you hope it's one of those things you hope you never, ever, ever have to use it. But what a clutch situation. I still can't believe it worked. I understand I'm an idiot. And my mind can't get over the fact that if you are socked in with smoke and fire, that you can even get a signal to reach a satellite. Like, if you can't see physically, like, my mind does not compute how you could still reach a satellite and connect properly. Like, I just don't understand it. So to me, it's just like a miracle technology.
Well, that particulate matter that is smoke isn't going to block the radio signals, right? And those radio signals push through. What gets me, and this has the power to do that. The Motorola Iridiums, those things were massive.
Guys.
Damn. I love living in the future.
So one of the key things for folks to remember, you mentioned it, Tasia, was a lot of people's instinct would be to go and run to the water. And apparently that's not what you're supposed to do. And I'm not exactly sure what you should do, but we will include some links on wildfire preparedness and what to do in an emergency. Of course, you want to escape fire and heat and all that bad stuff. Unfortunately, what happens is that, you may still be overcome by smoke. And smoke inhalation is what gets a lot of folks. And the other thing too is there's only so long you can tread water for unless you've got some survival gear. Even in Hawaii, where it's nice and warm, and salt is a bit more buoyant for you, you're going to get tired out and possibly drown anyhow. So it's totally understandable in a panic situation like that. That's go head for the water. At least water's wet, right? Again, we don't have the answers here. We'll include some links in the show notes if people are curious about what to do with wildfires, whether they're on land or near water, because again, tragic, terrible situation. And our hearts go out to those folks. Unfortunately, there, as with any tragic situation, right out of the woodwork come the conspiracy folks, and whoever thought that we would see the resurrection of space lasers, but didn't take long for the our toxic disinformation landscape to feature talk of directed energy weapon conspiracies, and they even used some folks on X and other platforms even used a photo of a SpaceX launch from 5 years ago as proof of a space laser starting a fire in Maui. It's like, no, that's not what this is. This is a photo with a long exposure of a rocket blasting off, people.
Is this a non-denominational space laser? Or
exactly. So
there was specificity last time, which was very worrisome. But if it's non-denominational, then this is a much more palatable theory.
And I just stumbled across this a couple of days ago, and I just logged into X, and I'm like, what? Of course we get the algorithmically generated crap in the feed, and it's like, what? People, come on! This is a tragedy, and you're ginning up all the nut jobs, and it's sad because the problem is, it's like, oh, but people got the proof, right? Look, they've got. It's just like before. Now, to be fair, directed energy weapons are a real thing. And it's a thing that various branches of the US military have been experimenting with. But the fact of the matter is, the amount of energy that would be required to fire something like that from orbit is currently pretty much impossible, unless you've got tabletop fusion going or anything like you've got to get a laser through the atmosphere powerful enough to start a fire in Hawaii. I mean, just think it through a little bit, folks, or maybe listen to some of the people. But it's wild, like all these people just agreeing with each other. And as soon as anyone else tries to come in with a bit of facts or science or links, and they're like, oh yeah, I bet you believe everything the government tells you. It's like, anyway, so that's just my momentous moment today.
We should not listen to Tristan has a screenshot up on the screen. And as a quick rule of thumb, if somebody's handle is like TM's Patriot and Vax prayer hands, I mean, generally take anything that person's saying with a grain of salt.
There's a lot going on in a username like that.
That's not prayer hands at that point. They're just high-fiving themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the prayer hands for? What are you...
Go me!
It's an incorrect use of prayer hands.
So back to something a little more positive. If you want to help out some of the victims of the Maui wildfires, we have a link that will include the show notes as well, which include things like donating directly to local charities. If you've got Hawaiian airline miles, you can donate those to the American Red Cross of Hawaii and local animal shelters. Remember, other victims of fires like this aren't just humans, also animals as well. Buy from Hawaiian businesses, especially if they're online. Kind of like what folks were doing at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine, ways to support people right on the ground there. You can donate to restaurant workers. There's some various GoFundMes, and donating to the American Red Cross of Hawaii. We may include a couple more specific links as well that Tasia mentioned to us off air. So yes,
there are a few. Hawaii Community Foundation, Red Cross of Hawaii. There's Maui Food Bank. So we'll include like a bunch of different links. They're all vetted, and really good to donate to. Like super easy. You don't have to do anything. Some of them even take Apple Pay. You guys, you just have to boop, 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 and that's it.
What do you have to do?
Something. Boop, 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 boop.
Oh yeah.
And then you're
Very
helping
technical.
people. And then another thing too, I think there's some hotel websites too that have like link outs. And so if you've been to Maui, if you love Maui, if you go to Maui, you're worried about the hotel workers, you're worried about the restaurant workers, you can figure out how to donate directly to the restaurants or the hotel workers as well. A lot of these people that work in tourism live in Lahaina and other areas that were affected by the fire. So, and don't travel there right now. And if you're there, knock it off. Get out. What is wrong with you?
So, one of the suggestions as well for people that had plans to travel to Maui, some people say, oh, well, just cancel your travel plans, get a refund, and take that money and donate it directly. Not everyone maybe has the means or the desire to do that. Maybe a portion of that. If you're traveling elsewhere in Hawaii, maybe you can keep up with those plans if you want, but just avoid Maui, obviously, especially Lahaina, because there's not much there at the moment. But
Yeah.
helping
Something
any way
else
you
I
can
would
would be
recommend though,
appreciated. Yeah?
Tristan,
Mhm.
if you're traveling to one of the other islands like Kauai or something like that that's not affected, I would still get in touch with your resort first. Ask them, um, are they in need of the hotel rooms for people that are needing shelter because they've been taking people off Maui and
Great
also
point.
the big island that has had fires,
Mhm.
and they're moving them to other islands. So you want to make sure it's okay that you still go there, and have a conversation with them and say how can we help if we are going there. You just want to make sure you're not taking maybe a spot from somebody else that could need it.
A different kind of heat is being experienced in various locations right now, including here in the Pacific Northwest. And we've touched on this in past years, but another quick tip, especially for those folks who do not have air conditioning, we're linking to an article in the show notes from CNET on how to keep cool, even if you don't have an air conditioner. Everything from freezing your sheets and pillowcases to putting your socks in the freezer.
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
Using house fans to make your own AC. You get a bucket of ice and blow air across that can help. It takes only about 1% of the electricity of a full-on AC unit. A layer of wet towel.
Yeah.
Say again, Greg?
That's called a swamp cooler.
There you go.
If you're looking
To help combat the swamp ass.
Yes. Well, if you're looking to make a really good quality one, search the word fig jam. FIGJAM. It stands for If I'm Good, Just Ask Me. And that is a swamp cooler that you can make out of a 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot. And it was pioneered at Burning Man.
Excellent. Wet towel layer. We'll put a link for that in the show notes as well, because I'm getting Figma links at the moment. Damp a wet towel on your bed over your sheets to give your body some cooling relief while you sleep. Don't sleep in the nude. May sound like a good idea, but you just sweat right into your sheets and then you're going to have a bad time. I've read another article about that recently as well, too. Actually, some decent moisture wicking pajamas are good for that kind of situation. Other things, consider cooling sheets, pillows, and comfortable. I have a cooling pillow and it works okay. It's passive. You can get active ones, and there's a whole sleep systems like 8 Sleep, for example, that pump cold air into your mattress. So there's cooling mattresses. What's that, Will?
I was about to say we have cooling blankets for our cats. But we're not sure if they actually like the cooling capabilities or just that it's a square.
If you freeze kitchen towels, they'll lay on that. Like Stormy lays on that, and Solo used to, if we would take a kitchen rag, like roll it up wet, and then put it in the freezer, he'd chew on that. Now we keep them nice.
There you go. So we got to think of the critters in our households as well. Some things that might be pretty obvious to most: block out the sun and heat during the day. So draw your blinds. If you've got blackout curtains, even better. It does make your house a little dark in the summer, which is, not great for the mood. So just get outside once in a while if you can stand the heat. But we keep our blinds drawn like pretty much all summer long. And of course, if you've got a multi-level home, hang out on the lower levels. And drinking ice water before bed, and avoid alcohol so you don't get dehydrated. Anyhow, we'll include those tips and others in the show notes. So back to, there was an awkward transition that we were thinking of doing from the directed energy weapon conspiracy theories into the celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Will can touch on that if he so pleases. But Will, this is as I was informed by a variety of YouTube Sprite commercials, and
Really?
Sprite apparently is celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So I guess we should as well. Will, what can you tell us about this golden anniversary of hip hop?
Well, August 11th, 1973, a gentleman going by the name of DJ Kool Herc, through what is commonly associated or attributed as the first instance of a hip hop concert and the first expression of hip hop culture. So basically, his revolution at the time was throwing a party and having breaks. What are part of the songs, often the breakdown, parts without words, and putting them together in what he called merry-go-round, which was he would just go back and forth over the break over and over again and transition between breaks. So I think actually we'll have in the show notes a great sort of recap of some of the greatest breaks or some of the breaks that have been well used throughout the years. So James Brown, yeah, the bongo band, these are some popular ones. But, you know, the thing about hip hop culture is it doesn't have to be soul and funk and jazz. Probably one of the most famous breaks of all time is from Aerosmith in Walk This Way. So, I mean, it's just taking part of what Kool Herc did was it wasn't an established thing. He found this in other places, right? So, and that's what created hip hop culture. And really hip hop culture started from the music. And, you know, the four elements are often considered breakdancing, MCing, and DJing. And so it really was it's a big achievement. His invention has become a huge cultural phenomena and influenced not only music, but all sorts of things, technology, but also things like fashion. And, you know, most parts of our culture, I think, have been influenced from the hip hop community.
And speaking of Walk This Way, sounds like Run DMC, who actually did a collaboration with Aerosmith and redoing their 70s hit Walk This Way for the 80s, which was a wild collaboration, unprecedented collaboration at the time. They appeared at a show at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. So this was sort of the big celebration, and all sort of Kool Herc was there. A bunch of influential people, like you said, Run DMC, Nas, Snoop Doggy Dogg. Oh boy, Little Kim does not look good these days. But yeah, Little Kim, she had too much work done. She should have just stopped at some point. But yeah, no, it was really a big event, and it was great to see.
So we'll have links in the show notes for information on the event at Yankee Stadium, a little bit of a mini profile on DJ Kool Herc. A little thing that I thought I would include as well for those who are interested. This is something I just stumbled across that was done for the 50 years of hip hop. It's the most iconic hip hop sample of every year from 1973 to 2023. And it does a really interesting job of visualizing the waveforms of various songs and the bits that were sampled out of them, and then sometimes layered with all sorts of samples, either from the same original track or various tracks, to create the foundation of a new hip hop track. And this is one of the things that kind of bugs me about people who tend to dismiss entire genres of music. Like, of course it's fine to like have your preference, but two of the most common things I hear is like, I like all music. Oh, except rap and country. It's like, okay, well then you don't like all music, right? And it's fine to have preferences, but some people just claim that there's nothing to it. So a video like this really helps you understand, like from the producer side, anyhow, not so much on the, you know, the rapper or MC side. I mean, that's a whole form of poetry in itself. But from a producer side, being able to mine the depths of music history and have that knowledge, and also the ear to figure out what blends together nicely. It's very well illustrated in this video that gives you a retrospective over the course of 50 years and half an hour. Gray, you got something to add to this?
Yes, so Baz Luhrmann did a really cool made-for-TV movie called The Get Down, which I think has Will Smith's kid in it. And there was sort of a pilot show that has almost like a Dungeons and Dragons-esque take on the beginning of hip hop. And it features some elements of realism. You know, you've got Grandmaster Flash in there, Robert Sadler, and where Kool Herc had the merry-go-round theory was first on the market. Flash had what he called the quick mix theory, which was basically the same thing, you know, 6.5 rotations on the record, and created essentially the modern crossfader. And I think it was Theodore the Wizard also kind of stumbled onto this at around the same time. So in these 3 boroughs in New York, you had these three geniuses who were all kind of coming to the same thing at the same time, building on what the other ones were doing. They touched on that in The Get Down, and very expensive. The made-for-TV movie is perfect in my mind. The show ran out of budget towards the end, and it kind of ran out of steam. But if you haven't watched it, it really does. It goes over a lot of this stuff in a fantastical way. That's Shamik Moore in there as well. From there, actually, like on YouTube, you've got Cool Herc and you've got Grandmaster Flash, who are still talking about this stuff to this day. They're still doing like live sessions and whatnot. It's pretty cool.
Well, just to piggyback on that, because I'm a hip hop historian nerd, is that so the merry-go-round is what influenced Flash to do the seamless transition. He actually put like crayon or marker, which is sacrilegious, as far as I'm concerned, on the record. Yeah, so he put his hands on the record. And so his was actually seamless. Part of the problem with Herc is that he was just needle dropping. So sometimes it would catch it, sometimes it wouldn't. And then Grand Wizard Theodore is the inventor of the scratch, which as I think fans of the show or you guys or our moms probably know that I'm a huge fan of scratching. So Grand Wizard Theodore is those are sort of the triad of
And as you touched upon, Will, and as we've covered here and there on Momentous Live over the years now, is the utilization of and the influence on technology by hip hop artists, whether it's the use of classic drum machines, sampling techniques, the turntablism, all of these sorts of things. So there's definitely an intertwined history of tech and hip hop, which is fascinating to people like Tasia, I'm sure.
I appreciate the genre, but
just wait till there's a fab collab between your queen and I don't know, Lil Nas X.
Yeah, that'd be really sick.
Will, it's your
She's
fault.
done hip-hop.
I'm deep into this. I blame you.
Yeah.
All right. One other quick bit of entertainment news is the dropping of season 2 trailer for Marvel's Loki. I'm excited. Will, was this you who dropped this into the show floor, or was it me?
No, it's somebody else. But I will say I'm looking at this now only because I respect all of you. I'm already sold. I don't need to watch it. I'm done. I don't need to see any more. Take my money. Yep. Not that you're taking any money. But.
Well, I think it was a lot of folks agree it was one of the more interesting and creative Marvel Studios TV installments over the last couple of years, along with, say, WandaVision. Mm-hmm. There's some definite Doctor Who vibes to Loki season 1. It's a lot of interesting themes, so looking forward to that as well. All right, so let's move on to our, I think we're at a momentous picks.
Oh. What? We're 10 minutes to 8. That's not humanly possible.
Look at us go.
Don't alert him.
Okay. Heartstopper. Who's this?
You guys, it's me.
Hi.
Do you want me to tell you about the cutest show in the whole world?
Yes.
Because I'm about to. So this is based on the books. I've never read Heartstopper, so sometimes I like to watch stuff before I read the books and then not get spoilers. But anyway, it's like LGBTQ friendly programming, but when I tell you this is the most heartwarming show I have ever seen in my life, it's wholesome. That is what I would tell you about this show. Like, it is lovely. It depicts all types of relationships as healthy as they can be, like romantic relationships, parental, sibling, friendships. I mean, it's just like, I wish there was a show like this when I was a teenager, but I'm still watching it and I love it so much. There's 2 seasons out right now. I'm almost through the 2nd season. It's delightful.
So that is Heartstopper on the Netflix.
Yes.
And sorry, forgive me, I was bouncing around there because I hit a wrong button and it kept going to Painkiller, which is another Netflix series that was just recommended to me, I think today or yesterday by my one of my little sisters. But so also 3 syllables. I can't vouch for that. But Heartstopper,
Yes.
Tasia's momentous pick of the week. Thank you, Tasia.
And
who
it's
we-
British. They've got accents. It's not like that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, is that why you were throwing down an accent before the show?
Wow, that is culturally insensitive.
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen.
All right, Haunted Mansion. Will, that's your momentous pick.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I went and saw this with my wife a couple weeks ago. We are huge Disney fans, and there was an abomination of a movie with Eddie Murphy a few years back. I think maybe 15 years back. This one is really fun. A lot of great comic talents in this one. So Tiffany Haddish, it's got Danny DeVito and Luke Wilson, or Owen Wilson. So yeah, it was really great, funny, entertaining. Lots of inside references for those who are Disney nerds and fans of the attraction, which again is a ride or an attraction at Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion. So yeah, I recommend it. I mean, I think I'm a little biased. I'm going to fully admit that I'm a Disney person, so I really enjoyed this. It's not going to win any Oscars, but it's just a fun popcorn movie. And if you're a fan of Disneyland and Disney type things, it's not really scary. There's a couple minorly scary parts, but Haunted Mansion isn't really all that scary in general.
So how would you rank it compared to other Disney movies made from amusement park rides?
It's probably the best one. The Jungle Book one is not all that great.
And it beats all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
Well, maybe the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean 3 might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It's right up there.
Correct.
Yeah, it's really horrendous. I didn't even bother watching the fourth one at that point.
I think there's a fifth one too.
I think there might be a fifth one. Yeah, and they were going to do a sixth one, but Johnny Depp got in trouble. So I can't remember what particular trouble it was, but anyway, he's been in so many incidents of trouble.
You should have just crossed that Aquaman over, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Too thin?
Yeah. So they did like a fifth one. I got off the train at 3. It's much better than the first Haunted Mansion, which is important to me, and better than the Jungle Book. And I just sort of related to this. I hate horror stuff. Tristan, I think you know this. I love the Haunted Mansion. When I was a kid, I went on it and it blew my mind. The tricks that they do with the ghost showing up and stuff like that. And I'll never forget that as a 6-year-old going on that ride and not being scared, just being so amazed by what they could achieve. And so I'm a huge fan of the Haunted Mansion ride. It's one of my favorite rides. Anytime I go to Disneyland, it's like it's not complete unless I go on the Haunted Mansion. So yeah. Anyway, so I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm totally biased, but it's a fun movie. Don't expect too much from it, but it's just a fun movie.
Well, given your affinity for the source material, it's good to see that the movie itself didn't disappoint. Yeah. Haunted Mansion, and that is viewable where?
So right now it's in theaters. It'll probably be on the Disney Plus soon.
Excellent. Gray, your momentous pick this week. A little bit of a different type of thing.
Yeah, so it's time for the Canadian Internet Registry Agency's elections. The member slate elections are happening. I'm actually going to put my name forward this year. One thing I do need to do is I need to get, I think it's either 10 or 20 members, so people who own .cas, to endorse me. So I'm probably going to come around to some of y'all at some point if you've got some .cas to see if I can get you to give me a hand with this. This is important. Like the .ca domain, TLD is an important one. And it really like this is our identity on the web. So it's something that I've been meaning to do for a couple of years. I always miss the application deadline, and so I'm almost on my application. It's due tomorrow, so I'm raising some awareness by picking this.
All right. And so if you if there's a way that folks can support your efforts to become a board member, just get us a link. We can either include in this week's or next week's show notes.
I will do.
If they give you a profile page with a Nice headshot.
Boom. There it is.
And your platform of choice. All right. My pick of the week, momentous pick is, Will called this a couple of days ago because we happened to see this together. Will Gray and I, in a rare momentous meetup, finally got to see Oppenheimer by Christopher Nolan, not just in the theaters, but in IMAX, as it was meant to be seen, as it was one of those rare movies actually shot on IMAX cameras. Now, it was at the IMAX at Silver City Riverport, the Cineplex Riverport in Richmond, BC. Not quite as good as the IMAX at Colossus in Langley, BC. Apparently, the one at Riverport is slightly cropped, but still, fantastic experience. Just big screen, not very deep theater, so that screen's taking up your entire field of view. Not a super heavy, effects-heavy movie, but just the cinematography was amazing. The set design, production design, the costumes, the acting, for a 3-hour movie with a ton of talking, I was remarkably engaged. And it was quick edits, like in the dialogue scenes. They didn't waste time. There's a real economy of language. Interesting story, especially for one that you don't really. I mean, there's no surprise as to what's going to end up happening. They did manage to build the tension up pretty well, especially when it came to things like the test scenes. We learned a little bit about Robert Oppenheimer's backstory. Some of it was made up, so to speak. There were some details that they had to fill in on their own. Especially early on in the movie, there was a scene where you're like, "What? He did that?" Some of it was based on fact, based on his memoirs, and some of it they filled in a few gaps as to the logistics of said incident. And surely, in any Hollywood biopic type movie, there's going to be some liberties taken. But again, another hit out of the park for Christopher Nolan on this one. I've got to say. Will, thoughts on real quick on Oppenheimer?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Like you said, just amazing visuals, amazing acting by multiple people, including Robert Downey Jr. And that's the one that really jumps to mind. But I'll also say, just for people who are interested in going to IMAX movies, it really is a great experience. One of the things, obviously, visuals. But the other thing you didn't mention was audio. I often find the audio really stings. I remember you and I, a number of years ago, went to the last Blade Runner movie. I was just blown away by that experience, the audio and the visuals. Mm-hmm. But even this movie, which you don't think of as maybe an audio-heavy movie, was really dependent on audio and the lack thereof. It for me, it was really the point that made this sing was the audio.
Gray, anything to add?
I don't think so, no. I mean, it was 3 hours long, and to your point, it did not feel like 3 hours of movie. I was not done by the time the film finished, which is for a 3-hour film, that's next to impossible.
Although I will say I never had to go to the bathroom so bad on my home. I'm not exaggerating.
So, Tasia, we're going to have to do a trade this on the with the Barbenheimer thing. So now that we've seen Oppenheimer and you've seen Barbie, we got to do a trade. We all got to see Barbie, and you're going to go see Oppenheimer.
This afternoon.
Well, there you go.
I saw Barbie.
Well, I guess I'm the only one left standing there. Tasia, have you seen Oppenheimer yet?
Interesting. No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, we'll have to do a deal.
I'm waiting for it to come to streaming. I just wanted to give you a heart attack live.
The 27
No, you're going to watch it on a plane.
Nice.
You want to talk about 1080p?
You're killing me, literally. All right, a quick little addendum to the Oppenheimer thing. I stumbled across a video. I'm a subscriber to the Veritasium Science YouTube channel. Been for years. Fellow behind that is originally from the Vancouver area. He's from Canada, anyhow. And a few weeks ago, he did a video called "Why Oppenheimer Deserves His Own Movie," and it was it's about 23 minutes long, 24 minutes long, and it helps fill in some of the gaps from the movie. And there's some things he doesn't get into. He doesn't get into the Strauss character as played by Robert Downey Jr., who was quite a surprise. And another thing he doesn't get into, which was I had heard elsewhere, Tasia, if you do get around to seeing Oppenheimer, one of the things that Christopher Nolan told his his actors is to think of to go and watch the movie Amadeus, and to think of the relationship between Strauss and Oppenheimer through the lens of Salieri and Mozart. It does. And so with that in mind, I mean, there's some similar dynamics there. But what this Veritasium video focuses on is a lot of the science about how the bombs are constructed and how they, the different types of nuclear bombs that were mentioned in the movie, the plutonium, the uranium bombs, and then of course the hydrogen bombs, with which Oppenheimer was against the development of, because he felt they were more powerful than necessary, and even felt that the bomb dropped on Hiroshima was more powerful than it needed to be, did more damage than it needed to be able to send the message and end the war between it and Nagasaki. But if you're interested in the content from the movie Oppenheimer itself, Destroyer of Worlds is the quote from the Hindu epic that Oppenheimer quotes in one of his later interviews. It's the kind of it's in the title image or the thumbnail image of this video, but it's why Oppenheimer deserves his own movie, and you can check that out at the YouTube Veritasium channel. Yes, I didn't want to try and pronounce it because I didn't have the spelling in front of me at the moment. Gotcha. But apparently Oppenheimer could read some Sanskrit, so because of course he read it in the original. So moving on to our projects this week, Will, you got a little another web looper for us?
Yeah, the other thing that was happening, not as significant as 50th anniversary of hip hop, is that it was August 8th, which is 808. And so every year people sort of celebrate the gift, which is the Roland 808, and it's a
drum machine.
I'm a big
rhythm
fan
programmer
of the sound. Yeah, and some of the best beats and music of the last 40 years have been made on an 808. So everything from African Bambaataa, Run DMC, LL Cool J, to Kraftwerk, to Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing. The great drummer from the Police, what's his name? Why can't I think
Stuart Copeland?
Police or Genesis.
Phil Collins?
Phil Collins. Phil Collins used the 808 even though he's a drummer. It's a classic instrument. So I used mostly 808 drums for this looper. Tasia, hold your ears. The title is partly based on Kanye West. I miss the old Kanye. And
808s and heartbreaks, but instead,
808s and 808 and earaches, and that's also partly a reference to Kanye. So basically a lot of heavy bass, and but even the hi-hats and the snares are often underappreciated. The 808 snares are really nice and full of resonance. So so I hope you guys enjoy. It's on Table Beats and Tableist.net.
So if you want to go and enjoy some of the timeless classics, such as Dungeness Stab, Organ Shaker, or Scratch Royale with Cheese, as Will mentioned, tableist.net/artist/Molotov, and tablebeats.com is where you download the app, right? Yeah. Excellent. All right, Gray, you've been keeping us in suspense since we missed you the last couple of weeks. Burn in the Forest. How did it go? What did you do?
Went really well. So I actually just put a link in our private chat here to my Mixcloud. There are 2 new mixes up. I know you've listened to 1 or 2 of them. Well, I guess both of them. And so I played Rave Bots, which is a stage put together by Adrian Moore and Dana, Tango and Dana. And they did something really cool with their subwoofers. He'd stacked them and have them inline firing with a slight delay, which means that you get a standing wave going forwards and a flat wave going backwards. You cannot hear bass behind it, but the stage is doubling the amplitude. It's nuts. Really, really cool. So 1:30 a.m. I went there and I laid down some tech house and some techno. And then at 1:30 p.m. I was over at the Really Lost Penguin stage for their snow cone happy hours. and just threw down again. I had a great time. I mixed Sandstorm into the middle of a set unironically. I'm so pleased with myself.
Dude, well done.
Oh, yeah. So I had a great time.
I noticed that
actually
in there.
doing
Yeah.
an impromptu DJ set at the end of the burn. A little bit controversial this year. There's a sort of a motivational speaker kind of ish person who got people the human connection, but people were touching each other without asking for consent because they were being directed to by this person. And all of a sudden, people are all up in arms, I guess, is kind of the problem with that. Anyway, it's
consent, folks.
Burn.
Get consent.
Burner's gonna burn. So yeah,
Burner's
had a great time. I'm looking forward to Burn the Forest next year. I'm not going to Burning Man this year, unfortunately. I injured myself a little bit, so I'm taking the time off. And yeah, there you go. Listen to these sets.
Yeah, so we'll include the links for your sets at mixcloud.com/gray-is-3po, but it'll be in the show notes, of course. Now, Will, you had sent a link that was related to Tasia's. What is this, Nick and Charlie?
Oh, it's just the characters from her. I just thought she was talking about adorable things, and actually, this is.
Oh my God, it's so cute.
Yeah. So, and this is a company that makes a lot of video game merchandise, and one of the companies I look at for various products. And this was something I noticed today, and then she mentioned it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that today.
That's how it works. So that is related to Tasia's momentous pick, Heartstopper. So sorry for the delayed reaction on that. But back to projects. Tasia, you've been very patient. What is your project this week?
Sorry, I keep muting because first Brett was yelling at the dog. The dog was whining. Now Brett's on the phone. It's a whole situation. You can hear everything in this house. Anywhoosie, my pick is that National Parks
your project
navigation. Yeah. That's what I mean. You know what I'm saying. National Park navigation has come to Google Maps, which is very exciting. So things like navigation directly to the trailhead. Now you can actually get a glimpse of your trail first, start and end points, where the trailhead is, how long it is, if it's moderate or, what type of hike it is for beginners, if dogs are allowed, et cetera, if it's accessible. You can see park entrances on the map now. It's wonderful. Those are just some of the additions. I'm not going to tell them all to you. You have to go watch the video.
One little bit of extra trivia regarding national parks, and this was I was made aware of this from some other YouTubers named Chris and Sarah. They do a lot of travel videos. They were doing van life stuff, and they do a lot of drone footage as well. Apparently, you are not allowed to take drone footage in a national park if it's for any commercial purposes. And that commercial purpose could include something like a YouTube video, since it can be monetized. So heads up to any YouTubers out there, including you, Tasia, if you take your own advice and go to national parks, don't use the drone for footage to put in your own videos, because
people do it all the time, and it's annoying. Like, guys, just go out and enjoy nature. I realize we talk about tech a lot, and we love tech. Could you just, for 5 seconds, just enjoy what's in front of you?
But that's the thing, is it's not a blanket ban. It's just on people who are doing it for quote unquote commercial purposes, even if there's a small scale YouTubers. So that you can get, I think there's licensing and stuff like that you can, I don't know, but maybe we'll throw a link in there too. It's just, governments are going to government. I have I don't even have it here, do I? Oh, just this is a little preview of this is a little placeholder. As I mentioned to Will and Gray offline, Tasia and I were invited to throw together a little experiment for the Daily Tech News, which is a Daily Tech News show, which is a long-running daily podcast and video podcast put on by some folks formerly of like Tech TV and some people in the Leo Laporte universe and whatnot. They once a year in August, they have something called Experiment Week, where they invite some of their contributors to come and throw in a video to put in their, a podcast to throw in their feed, and they see what kind of reaction they get. And it has helped to launch some new podcasts. I think last year there was a couple, one called The Tech Jean and one called BBQ and Tech. So Tasia and I quickly whipped together a little something. We've been talking for a while now about having an AI focused show, and we did a little pilot episode and got a quick and dirty, nasty little placeholder website that we may decide to build out. And of course, went and reserved social channels. And our terrible name for the show is AI named the show because Tasia and I were out of ideas.
That's great.
I stand by the name.
Solid.
So
This is the show was
Yes,
taken.
exactly.
We couldn't use that as
yes,
the
Tasia and I have
title.
also been talking for years about this is the show, based on various long-running conversations on car drives and stuff like that.
Car
Yeah.
conversations in Vancouver.
So this is going to be an AI specific one, and so watch this space. Next week we'll have a link. Watch our social channels. We'll probably be cross promoting a little bit, and as time goes in the future, we may even have some guest co-hosts on there that you may recognize. Wink.
I wonder who it would
Sure.
be.
We have a couple
No
to choose from at
idea.
least. And we'll talk about AI space lasers. All right, guys. We managed to drag it a little longer. We were coming in at a tight 60,
Yep.
but I think we should blame Tasia.
Correct.
As always.
Correct.
If you want to find out more about us, you can visit momentus.tv/links, momentus.tv/team for more on the four of us. And for the audio version of this magical experience, momentus.tv/podcast. New episodes come out just a couple days after this, after we tidy up the audio a little bit. And we did it. The whole gang back together. Love it.
Good times.
Right, folks. We hope your week is truly momentous.